Welcome everyone to part 2 of the Star Wars live action film rankings. If you want to see the previous part of this, feel free to hit that little button up there in the top right corner of your screen, and that'll take you to part 1, where my brother and I went through the original trilogy. This time going through the prequel trilogy. And I'll say it now. Prequel lovers might not like my brother. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, feel free to give me a like. It'll help me out a lot in this small channel. And also, if you want to know when the last part 3, that has the Disney movies that comes out, you can subscribe to my channel, and then you'll know when they come out right away. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you next time. Blurry finger.
But I was going into Tosche Station to pick up some power converters.
But moving on to Episode 1, 1999, The Phantom Menace. I'm going to put this, oh boy. I'm debating between 2 spots, and it's good and mediocre. And, I mean, I'll be honest, I like all Star Wars movies, so I don't think I'm going to be putting anything in bad. So...
Oh.
So,
I'm not in that.
No, I know. I mean, who knows? Maybe 9 will end up down there, but I think I'm gonna put Episode 1 at mediocre.
Okay.
It's definitely not better than any of the original trilogy, but
Agreed.
I think the worst thing that they did in this movie was kill off Darth Maul, because I think if Darth Maul, admittedly Darth Maul's story gets expanded upon later in like Clone Wars novels and even Star Wars Rebels and stuff like that. Obviously we didn't have that when the first
Solo.
Oh, and Solo, correct. Yep. Even though like we get all that, and honestly like in the long run I think that is probably a better and cooler story. At the time, like I don't think anything was expanded upon until after 3. I mean, maybe there were books that came out during that period of time, but in 2005 I was only 8, so it's not like I was going out and looking up Darth Vader or Darth Maul novels or anything like that. But
which now are not canon anymore.
yes, yes, correct. But yeah, I think it's a good movie. I don't think, well, I guess it's a mediocre movie technically, haha. Jar Jar,
Finger guns at that point too, you know.
yeah. Jar Jar is kind of meh, and obviously some of the acting everyone like beats on what's his face who was Anakin, Jake Lloyd, poor guy, yeah. And like going on this tangent, like people in his school made fun of him because he was a bad actor or whatever like that. Shit, he was in Star Wars. What were those kids doing that year, huh? Fucking learning 2 + 2 = 5? Like,
Yeah.
and it just sucks for that dude, and I feel real bad. And I mean, there's not really much I would have been able to do when the movie came out, and especially later on. The damage was already done by the time I like thought about it in my brain of how bullied that kid was.
That's really crazy, and I think that is one of the things that's a blessing and a curse for anyone who jumps in on Star Wars, anything Star Wars, where the fan base is there. You'll get huge numbers. They're very passionate. However, they will tear you down. Like they forced what's her name? Her last name's Tran.
Oh, Kayla Marie Tran.
Yeah, they forced her off of social media. I think I'm forgetting Ray's name now.
Oh, Daisy Ridley.
Yeah, I think she's off of social media too because of Star Wars fans, and yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, go back to the movie in general. I think the introduction of Qui-Gon and Maul are, because I think Qui-Gon's a really cool character. Him kind of being like the real, I guess, kind of like the real Jedi who's not really all caught up in with like doing everything that the council says and doing all of the prim and proper Jedi stuff.
So the Dave Filoni take, that's what.
Yes, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
And plus Darth Maul. I mean, he just looks so bad as a double lightsaber. I mean, he's just so cool. Like, I mean, come on.
No, I agree. Like, if hindsight's 20/20, I think George Lucas realizes he made a mistake by Darth Maul dying. Just because of, like, you would think, a double-ended lightsaber? That's flippin' sweet. This guy has, like, horns on his head. That's weird, but also intriguing. And he's red.
And he's red and black.
I need to know more about him, but you don't really, like, he doesn't speak. Like, he doesn't even speak.
Yeah. I think he has, like, maybe, like, one line or maybe two lines. Like, when him and Palpatine are on Coruscant, he was like, "At last we'll have our revenge." And then maybe later on, like, when he was with the Neimoidians, a couple of grunts, and he's like, "Yes, master," or stuff like that. Which is probably why in Rogue One, or not Rogue One, in Solo, that they had Sam Witwer do his voice, but still have Ray Park do the acting.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Witwer, he's a classic, all-around good Star Wars guy.
Oh yeah.
I first fell in love with Sam Witwer in Smallville when he played Armageddon.
Okay.
I believe.
I never watched it, so I don't know.
But yeah, he was in a couple seasons of Smallville. You don't see him in Superman fight, which is really weird because that was one of the few bad guys who had a potential just to kill Superman outright. So you never see that fight in Smallville, but that was Smallville's MO from the get-go. No fights, no tights. That was the original creators' slogan for Smallville. No fights, no tights. It's just I'm actually rating episode 1 as mediocre as well.
Okay.
Because there's worse ones out there.
True.
But the pod racing was entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Pod racing was really cool.
I do think on the extended director's cut, enhanced HD whatever version, I think the pod racing takes too long of the film.
Oh. Yeah.
So I prefer the chopped down time of the original release. It's just, like, in my opinion, if I could write the prequel trilogy, I don't know why you don't start at a starting point like episode 2, where I don't understand the need for episode 1. If you really think about it, like,
yeah,
they find Anakin in Tatooine, and like that's the thing. If you're able to not do episode 1 the way it is and kind of start episode 1 like episode 2, then episode 2 is like more of the Clone Wars, and instead of General Grievous, it's Darth Maul. Like, that just makes more sense to me. And then episode 3 stays as episode 3. Because episode 2, the Attack of the Clones, the clones show up at the very end, and they attack Geonosis, and that's the Attack of the Clones.
For the last half hour, or even 20 minutes. And even the last 20 minutes, they're not at all 20.
No, exactly. But yeah, there's Jar Jar Binks, all time. He's just an annoying character. I hate him.
I did see a tweet someone made a Darth Jar Jar or something like that, and then
I mean, that's a theory that goes around. Jar Jar is actually a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But someone made fan art of him, and then Ahmad Best, I think, who was the actor, just quoted and said "dope" and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool to see. But yeah, I think the only story point to episode 1 is just having the relationship between Anakin and his mother. And if other than that, they could basically scrap all of episode 1, which is why episode 1 isn't even in the what's that order called where you watch 4, 5, 2, 3, then 6.
I don't even know.
I forgot what that order is called. But yeah, it's the order of watching 4 and 5. You find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Then you watch 2 and 3, to see how Anakin became Darth Vader, and then you go back and watch 6, and you don't even touch 1.
I mean, again, like, if you take the whole arc of Star Wars, the whole story, the things that are in Episode 1 that would need to be carried over is Anakin's infatuation with Padme,
Yeah.
his relationship with his mother,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, I guess technically, the struggles of getting him to be in the Jedi Order, like, to start training.
Yeah.
Those are really the only 3 things that need to happen for Episode 2 to take place. Like, everything's advanced like 10 years.
Yeah.
And slotting Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan, and then in Episode 1, he's probably in only 15 minutes of runtime.
Yeah, he's not
It feels little.
not yeah. Yeah,
Hey,
because he's
Obi-Wan.
on the ship the whole time they're on Tatooine,
Yeah,
basically.
Just the Queen's clothing. What?
Oh god.
But I'm ready to move on.
Yeah. Before we move on, Duel of Fates, best music in the prequels by far. Some of the best music in Star Wars in general.
I would agree with that.
Okay. Episode 2. Attack
Bad.
of the Clones. You're putting it in bad?
It's bad. Yes.
I'm going to put it in mediocre behind Episode 1. Mainly because Episode 2 was like the main Star Wars movie I watched when I was growing up. And like Episode 3 was the first movie I saw in theaters, I'm pretty sure. And I just watched Episode 2 a lot, so probably there's like a lot of that nostalgia, but it doesn't make up for the fact that it's Episode 2. And the reason I don't like it, because a lot of people think 1's the worst just because like the acting and Anakin and stuff like that. I think Episode 2 you could even say the same thing, like all the sand stuff, all like the Padme stuff, and like the only real interesting part of Episode 2 is discovering Kamino and that like whole mystery about how they got the clone started. Like that shit's really cool. And then the like final battle with all the Jedi and all the droids, and then the clones showing up.
But the
like,
problem is there really ever a resolution of how the clone started? Because like they always say, Master, I forget his name.
Sifo Dyas
did, but did no one ever mentions him again? Like I don't even know who he is. I don't know what he looks like. Like is it Darth Sidious?
This is actually expanded upon a little bit in Clone Wars, which you had to wait almost. Because Episode 2 came out in 2002, so they probably waited a whole decade until they got information on that, actually. Because I think that information was in the before it came back, and before like had the lost episodes, which is season 6 or whatever. I think it was part of season 5, which was the final season at that time. But yeah, they don't.
I'm in season 4 right now, actually.
Oh, okay.
Side note, and I don't remember them mentioning Master Cipher Dyas or whatever. So yeah, I'm excited to get to that.
Yeah.
I will say real quick, I know this is getting off a tangent. I just started season 4, and it starts in the water planet. Oh, this is a tough 3 episodes.
it's rough with Shark Man. What's his face?
Shark Man and the Admiral Akbar kid, who's the prince. Those I'm almost done with the 3rd episode of that series of that story arc.
Yeah.
Man, it's tough.
The best part about that arc is just seeing Kit Fisto underwater with a lightsaber. Because I think he's in that, I believe.
Yeah,
I may be wrong.
Yeah. He's the only guy who doesn't have the scuba gear on.
Yeah. Kit Fisto. What a cool guy. That just gets obliterated in Episode 3. But yeah, honestly, I don't know if there's more that we need to talk about in Episode 2.
I mean, I will mention, like, I mean, the fight scenes are bad. Like, I mean, if anyone says that the fight scenes are what carries a movie, like, then you can only talk about Episode 3 in my mind as we get to it, because you have Ian McGregor versus Hayden Christensen, and they're both, younger guys. I mean, Christopher Lloyd. You know why they're doing all the lightsaber fights up top and you just see their faces is because he can't do anything. He's not physically able to do it.
Yeah.
Because he was unfortunately too old.
Yeah.
And like so Anakin and now I'm blanking on his character's name. Count Dooku.
Oh.
They're fighting, and all you see is their faces and lights flashing on.
Yeah,
their
that's a rough part of
like,
that whole fight.
oh god! And then it cuts back to like where it's just two CGI bodies fighting each other, and then it zooms in, and Anakin loses his lightsaber, then loses his hand. It's like, ugh,
Yeah.
thank God that's over.
Like, I think, like, the idea of, like, them fighting in the dark is cool, because, I mean, they kind of did it in, episode 6, when Darth Vader and Luke are fighting. It's pretty dark in there, but, like, something, like, completely dark with just lightsabers, I mean, that seems like a cool visual, but the way it was done, it just looks like two faces in an intense face with just kind of, like, just colors was in by their face. Yeah.
Yes.
And then the introduction of Yoda fighting Dooku, which I still have mixed feelings about. I think it's really cool, but also I feel like Yoda should just be able to overpower Dooku with the Force, in my opinion. I don't think he should have, like, yeah, he stopped Dooku from doing everything to him with the Force, but then Dooku was like, let's use our lightsabers now. And then Yoda was like, okay, yeah, sure, when he could have probably just Force pushed them all over the place. But admittedly, that's maybe not such a Jedi thing, and Dooku was Yoda's apprentice and all that stuff, so.
Yes.
But yeah. I'm trying to think. The whole romance thing kind of puts a downer on it.
Bad. Like, it's just the writing is bad. Like we get into it in episode 3, when Anakin betrays everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, George Lucas thought it was a good idea for Padme to say, "Anakin, you're breaking my heart." Like, or you could just show it. Like, just have her just show it. Like, you don't need to. Like, I think George
show don't tell.
Yeah, like show that what he's doing is breaking her heart. Not saying, "Well, I don't know if everyone will understand that he's breaking her heart right now, so let me just have her say it." That's not good storytelling.
Yeah. 2 is not great, and I'm assuming you'll probably put 3 above those two. So I'm assuming 2 is probably your worst of the prequels. So going into that, episode 3, where am I going to put it? I'm going to put episode 3. I'm going to put it at very good behind Return of the Jedi. Because like I said, I grew up on the prequels, so I'm probably going to rate them higher than Wade. And also, episode 3 was the first movie I saw in theaters. And on top of that, like, this is by far the best prequel movie, from just action in general. And even, I know there's definitely parts, like you mentioned just before, the writing isn't best in episode 3. It's not as good as other Star Wars movies, but it's definitely the best of those 3. And like the intense fight at the end, the
This episode 3 is, I mean, I agree, it's better than the first 2 of the prequels. I would put it at good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it under good, but I also don't like it under mediocre, so I'll put it at good, and by the time we get through it, it might be slid down like as the worst good. It depends. Like this really showcased your ability with technology and with younger actors, like what you could do with a lightsaber fight, who have, at this point in time, like, the Force is well known, everyone knows about it, and everyone has studied it, at least in the Jedis and Sith, where, like, they have all these powers. And I will defend to this day that I came up with the original lightsabers locked,
and the Force push,
and both are Force pushing. Because if we go back in the day, before this was released, young teenage me and your other brother and friends, we created fake Star Wars movies where we met James Bond.
Yes, Star Wars meets James Bond.
Yes, and James Bond becomes a Sith master, and they fight and there's a fight where the lightsabers lock up top, and both characters are trying to force push each other before episode 3 was released. So I will die on this hill that I came up with that idea.
Before we move on from that, you make fun of the prequels for bad writing. All right, now one of the first scenes that we made in the Star Wars meets James Bond trilogy, I think we made.
I know where you're going. My defense before we even get there is we were like 13.
Okay, that's fair, but Luke Skywalker saves James Bond, and then I believe Luke Skywalker helps up James Bond, and James Bond line is this: "Thanks, Luke, if that's your name." It's so bad.
That's an all-time cinema moment right there. Thanks, Luke, if that's your name. All-time cinema moment.
Oh my god.
Like when the Oscars have when they have snippets of movies and they in the Oscars and they put all the greatest moments of film in that little bit. That scene where Luke Skywalker is helping James Bond up off the ground, and James Bond replies, "Thanks, Luke, if that's your name," is an all-time cinema moment. Don't come at me.
Oh my god. But yeah, going back to episode 3.
Yes, please.
Like the start of the movie, I think, is definitely the best start of the 3. Just going straight into action, like trying to get back Palpatine, and then kind of leading that into the death of Dooku right away, which like immediately goes into the, I guess, destabilization of the Sith current order. Because I guess you could throw, do it. You could throw Dooku, Palpatine, and even Grievous in there at that moment, I guess, since Grievous is... he's not really a dark side user, but he's a force from the Sith, I guess you can call it. But yeah, do it. the other famous line. But yeah, going from that and then back, like there's kind of like constant action, which is pretty nice. There's not too many lulls. I think probably the longest lull is from the fall of the Jedi to Yoda and Palp fighting and Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it is the best one, and we kind of talked about it, where like it gives you the feel when it opens, this big old star battle above Coruscant, and so it's like it gives you this massive feel, like, oh my god, this is how big this event is, and this is what's going on, and this is just one isolated sky battle when we know that this war is going on other planets, on the ground, in space. Like, that's just how big it feels. So they really give you this big feeling, and they do that, and it kind of carries through the film of how expansive and how big this universe is in episode 3. And, like, again, as we kind of said, it's the best one, but then there's just some asinine decisions that are made by George Lucas or whoever. Like when Obi-Wan's trying to find out where Camino is, he goes to Dak, who runs a 1950s style
Hey,
diner.
that's in episode 2.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fuck. Okay. Let me go back to episode 2 real quick. That's why it's so bad. Like, they're trying to find information on Camino, and he goes to a 1950s style diner who's run by this four-armed preacher Dak, and who has like a robot who's on one wheel dressed like a 1950s diner worker. Like, ridiculous. Anywho.
Yes, that's like I don't even know why they did that. Maybe they did like, oh, Obi-Wan's such a likable guy and he knows so many people. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, that's they could have just been like, oh, this is where Camino's at. Let me just go there. But I guess that kind of would take away from like, oh, we don't know what Camino is and all that stuff. But
yeah. Okay,
they had to find a way to get there, and I guess that was the way through a 1950s diner. But yeah, back to episode 3.
Okay, yeah, sorry. But yes, I don't know. It's just, again, I think the prequel trilogies fall into this hole of like, this is kind of a kids movie, even though older people like it, but because it's kind of, created for kids or younger adults, let's have big discussions about Senate and litigation and policy making. Like, that's just good storytelling. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that in 1 or 2. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
no.
episode 1 opens up, there's a trade blockade. What the A trade blockade? You expect a 10-year-old to understand the intricacies of a trade federation blocking supplies to a planet Naboo? Like, any 10-year-old's like, that means the people won't eat? That's bad. Like, that's how far, like, that's what they expect. But it's like, well, they're not paying their debts. We don't know.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, good.
All right. And then yeah, like just seeing like Darth Vader rise at the end, that's a really cool moment. The way Padme dies is kind of weird, especially when we find out that Leia kind of remembers her mother, but Luke doesn't. But they saw her for maybe the first 10 seconds of their life. That I don't know. They probably could have found a better way to go about that, but I don't know. It is what it is at this point.